Hello, good evening. Thank you so very much for attending. Isn't this cool? It took about 4 hours for us to hang those lights yesterday, but I think they look fantastic. Wait till we get this room fogged out from the DJ. So, I can't say I'm the hugest Harry Potter fan in the world, but I see there's at least 1 or 2 people in the room that are. Please join me in thanking our staff to help to make this possible. Emily, Diana, Eileen, our intern Meredith, who ran up to the office to grab something quick, Brigitte, and also our tech crew, Logan, our DJ coming in, and Rob Core, our DJ going out. He ran out to grab something. He'll be back in a minute. Our photographer, Aaron, I'm serious. If you guys need a wedding photographer, that's where you need to go. And also our video crew, our usual crew from First Light Productions. Thank you guys so much for helping us out tonight. We also have a number of business partners in the room tonight. Did Lucia make it? I don't know that I saw her come in. Lucia, would you stand please for a moment? Lucia Schubert, our preferred CPA. Does a lot of work on our Roth conversion and other tax calculations, so seek her out if you need support there. We can't do this work without the support of others, so thank you for that. Also, let me introduce Matt Lynch. Where's Matt? There he is. Matt from Allianz, expert in all things related to Allianz. And finally, also Ron Fuchs is back here as well, one of our guest presenters. Thank you guys so much for helping out. We have 2 special presenters tonight, so I'm going to try and keep my comments short. We have Ron, and we also have Nick White of U.S. Energy will be one of our presenters tonight. And I want to keep my comments short because I want to get to these guys pretty quickly. In fact, I'm really not going to talk much about geopolitical events or investments, even though there's a lot going on there right now. If you want to talk about that kind of stuff, come find me afterwards. And I have a lot to say. We can chat about it, but we'll do that offline. I will say, long story short, though, for the short to medium term, I'm kind of okay with where I think things are headed. I think it's going to work out. I'm much more concerned about the longer term. As some of you may know, many of you may know, since 2023, we have embraced the power of zero worldview based on the best-selling book of the same name by author David McKnight. He's also published a couple of other books. And this is a philosophy that guides just about everything we do in the office at this point. In fact, if you'd like the deep dive on this, I now teach a course at Avery Point, Yukon related to this. Our next class is starting up in October. I have a few flyers if you're interested, if you're down in the area and you'd like to come to see the class. Really interesting program. So why am I worried about the longer term? Well, that's because we believe there is a massive tax-deferred time bomb coming. If you think about it, your IRAs and 401ks have never been taxed. And we think it's critically important to make a plan to deal with the massive amount of taxation that is going to be coming from our IRAs and 401ks. There are many books written about this topic, including my friend from Ed Slott here. He's one of the nation's foremost CPAs. And some of you may have heard me speak about this, and even David McKnight, the author, speak about this at other conferences or on Zoom calls. And if many of you are not familiar with the power of zero philosophy, I would encourage you to explore it and check it out. If you don't have a copy of this book, we have extra copies up at the front desk on your way out. Grab one for yourself. Grab some extras. Grab some for your friends. You see, the evidence suggests that unless taxes go up sharply in the years to come, our nation is in big financial trouble relative to our national debt. At the very least, the interest on the national debt will start to become a pretty serious problem. In fact, now the interest we pay on national debt exceeds what we spend on national defense. For how many years have we been kicking the can down the road on national debt? And it's not just me saying this. Ray Dalio has published several books on this, including one called The Big Debt Crisis, and more recently a book called How Nations Go Broke, Why do you imagine he might be publishing a book with this title right about now? So we think this is a pretty serious topic, and it's something we've been following for some time. David Walker, former U.S. comptroller, basically the accountant or CPA for the nation, published in his book, Come Back America, in 2009, talking about our national debt. Now he has a new one called America 2040. I haven't seen it yet, but this has been part of the national conversation for quite some time. Recently, Penn Wharton published a study that says if we don't dramatically raise our individual tax rates in the years to come, our nation has a serious risk of defaulting on our national debt. And I note that when David Walker wrote his book here in 2009, our national debt stood at $12 trillion. When we started talking about Power of Zero in 2023, national debt was at $34 trillion. Today, just a handful of years later, we are at nearly $40 trillion of national debt, and with no signs of slowing down. National debt now represents $240,000 for each and every single taxpayer in America. This is a serious problem. And I know that President Trump has extended the current tax rates indefinitely, basically making the current tax rates permanent. Well, it's only permanent until the next guy comes along and changes it. And I know that Trump said tariffs and whatnot are going to make taxes obsolete. I don't see it. Maybe he knows something that I don't, but I think this is a lot more challenging than folks let on. As a nation, I honestly don't know how we are going to fix this. So I can't save the world, but I can try to save each one client at a time. And it's not just national debt. The entire planet is drowning in an eye-popping $353 trillion of sovereign debt. And this is important because if you have IRA and 401k assets that are tax deferred, not forgiven, that means that we are deferring the payment of the taxes that is due on IRAs and 401ks into the future when tax rates are likely to be higher. We owe the taxes. We just do. The question becomes, at what rate would you like to pay? Currently, we think taxes are on sale. It may not feel like it, but we are in currently some of the lowest tax brackets in recorded human history. So we have to keep an eye on this because if you have $1 million in your 401k, you don't really have $1 million. You have $1 million minus taxes. And if we don't know what taxes we will pay when we take the money out, do we really know how much money we have? Power of Zero philosophy therefore suggests accelerating payment of taxation on your stuff and settling up now while tax rates are low and at a known and controllable rate rather than a future higher, unknown, uncontrolled, and likely higher rate. And I know. Why on God's green earth would we want to pay more in taxes than we have to in any particular year? It doesn't make any sense. Unless we expect tax rates to be higher in the future, and then it makes all the sense in the world. We now have prepared several hundred tax-free retirement financial plans, and I'd like to think that we're getting pretty good at this, but we still have a lot of clients and a lot of plans to do, and we haven't reached everybody yet. We're working on it. So if you don't have a tax plan for your retirement funds, I would encourage you to do so, and soon. Give us a jingle, look us up. One of the things that we've observed, though, is a sweet spot for doing these conversions and accelerations is in the 22 to 24% tax bracket. In other words, we normally look at filling up the 24% bracket with Roth conversions and distributions in some logical and orderly fashion. But we've also seen that many of us have incomes north of the 24% bracket. We're successful. We've done well. Congratulations to you, kudos. It's a real first world problem to have. Probably better than problems of food, shelter, and clothing, but it's still a problem. So we've come to understand that we need to find strategies that can help physically reduce someone's tax bracket. We've spent a lot of time in research looking for tools and strategies that can do this, and we found a bunch, and I'm going to share 2 of them with you tonight. There are others, but we only have time to get to 2 tonight. We'll just crack open the door just a little. And if you find this stuff interesting, let's talk some more, because obviously significant details apply. So first is qualified opportunity zones. And in qualified opportunity zones, these are geographical reasons that governmental bodies have identified for development. This is real estate development. And in real estate development, there is an initial markdown on the value of a real estate investment because we haven't built the buildings yet. We put the money in, we have a piece of land, but we haven't dug the holes in the ground and put up the structures. So there is a markdown on the value of the investment initially, which in any other scenario would be bad. But if we do this inside of an IRA, once we have that initial markdown, now we do a Roth conversion at much lower values. And we pay less taxes by doing so. And then we allow the investment to rise back up again, except this time in a Roth account, and it now recovers tax-free. Another version of qualified opportunity zones is the write-off on the tax due on highly appreciated assets. Let's say you've been investing in electric boats since the dawn of time, and you've grown a significant value in your portfolio, and it's all gain and it's all going to be taxable. In any other scenario, you sell it, that's going to create a giant capital gains tax bill. Qualified opportunity zones allow you to take the proceeds from that sale, put it into one of the programs, and if you hold it for 5 years, we get to deduct half of the capital gain. If we hold it for 10 years, we get to deduct 100% of the capital gain. So my point is that there are tools that it can allow us to manipulate where we fall in the tax bracket world. A third is U.S. energy. And this is oil and gas related stuff. This is drilling and leasing of oil and gas wells. This is landman stuff, like that show on Amazon. And again, in oil and gas exploration, there is an initial markdown on the value of the investment because of depreciation of putting holes in the ground and wells going up and things like that. And when we do that, we can see a 70 to 90% deduction off of the income in the year that we do that. And then we recover our value through the interest and dividends that are paid off from leasing those oil wells. Again, significant details apply. But all of this is designed to carve out room for a Roth conversion. If you have high income and we're bumping up on the top of the 24% bracket, a Roth conversion would cause it to push over and probably no longer be efficient. But if we can carve out room in your income that drops it down, now do a Roth conversion and stay within 24, that could possibly be a big win. So again, significant details apply, and I'll let Nick talk about that. What's my point? My point is that if you are in a high tax bracket, either now or in the future, and it's challenging to do Roth conversions, there are tools and there are strategies that can help. There may be ways that we can restructure your stuff to bring down your tax bracket and allow you to do further utilization of the power of zero. So finally, if you haven't explored the power of zero and tax reduction strategies yet, let me encourage you to do so, because in 1935, the Supreme Court upheld in Gregory versus Halvering that it is not unpatriotic for citizens to arrange their affairs to have the minimum exposure to taxation. And remember, if you don't have a tax plan for retirement, regardless of what tax bracket you are in, your retirement plan is not fully fleshed out. Folks, please join me in welcoming our first guest presenter, Mr. Ron Fuchs from Griffin Capital.
Thank you.